Hey guys, Peter here to do an album review. Today I'm here to tell you all about the latest from Warkings, Revenge, out July 31st on Napalm Records. This album has 11 tracks, 57 minutes in length, and this is the band's second full-length studio album. This record is exactly what I expected from the band, a sequel to Reborn, bringing back all the staples that they introduced to the fans with the debut record. Great sound, powerful riffs, outstanding vocals, and of course, a cameo by the Queen of the Dam. As you look deeper into the record, you have to break it down into three main core elements: structure, overall sound, and vocals. As far as the structure is concerned, the album has a classic heavy metal structure divided into two parts, almost equal as far as the power and the dynamic mechanisms that they have, broken down in the middle with Banners High, which is the ballad on the record. I would have changed things ever so slightly because I really feel with this track listing and with this structure, the album has a little bit more power on the first half and it's definitely more melodic, more layered in the second half. I would have changed Banners High with Odin's Sons. I would have Banners High come in as number 5, Odin's Sons as number 6. This would give a much bigger boost of sound and energy and heaviness as you start off that second half of the album. You would not be able to tell as much of a difference between the first half and the second half. Overall, the record, in my opinion, would be a lot better balanced. Now, as far as sound is concerned, the first thing that I have to say is that this was the element that impressed me the most about this record. First of all, the solos are magnificent. There's not a track that has a throwaway solo. Every single song has a magnificent solo that really captivates and really explodes onto the track, giving so much energy, so much power into the songs, but also understanding the melody, the story that's being told on that track, and capturing that element, that essence, if you will, into the way the solo is created. So I have to give a shout out to the solos because to me they were just absolutely outstanding. Every time I would hear a track and a solo would come in, I would say, okay, this is the best solo so far. Then the next track, oh no, this is the best solo so far. It seems like every song has the best solo so far. So I really like the solos and it's definitely one of the highlights of the overall sound. But as you get deeper into the sound, the thing that really captured my attention was that on this record, I felt that they were able to create a much better atmosphere as far as the overall sound is concerned. They understood the lyrics, they understood the content of each song, and then the music that was created for that specific track really captures that essence. It really captures that atmosphere. Odin's Son, for example, that is a song that has that Viking theme to it. And in my opinion, this is a track that feels almost like a Monomarth if they were playing power metal. It has a little bit of that vibe to it, which to a lot of people, when you think of a Monomarth, you think about Vikings, you think about Viking metal. So including a riff that has a little bit of a Monomarth essence into it really brings to the forefront the overall atmosphere of the track. And they did this throughout the record, really understanding the lyrics, the storyline, what is this track all about, what do we want out of this song. So let's make the sound, let's make the guitars, create that soundscape, create that atmosphere that will bring the lyrics to life and therefore the songs to life. To me, this is something that they did a lot better on this record than in the previous album. So definitely a step up as far as that specific aspect of the record. As far as vocals are concerned, man, what is there to say? Magnificent vocals all around. The Queen of the Dam with a cameo. I always look forward to having her on one of the Warkings tracks because she always brings a different element. She brings a different level of aggression, of intensity into the tracks. But overall, the vocals are outstanding, really cohesive and really balanced throughout every single song. There's not one track where you feel like perhaps there was something that could be done differently. You really feel like they were just at a very high level across every single song. I also like the backing vocals that they add. They do that quite a bit. Some of the harsher vocals as a narrator is a nice little, it's a nice little twist. It adds a little bit of atmosphere as well. It really enhances the songs, enhances the storytelling aspect of the tracks. I like it. I'm not a huge fan of it. I don't think we need it on every single song, but in some songs really adds something. It really creates a different dynamic within the track itself. But in terms of add-ons, I would say the backing vocals to me was perhaps one of the most important elements because it was able to give a little bit more volume, a little bit more texture to the way the overall vocals sounded on the record without making them sound heavier, without making them feel heavier, without taking any of the melody away, without taking any of the beauty away. So nicely done in terms of incorporating a little bit of more layers to the vocals to add more presence, but not take anything away from them at all on any of the tracks on this record. Now, overall, I really enjoy this album. I feel like for the fans of power metal, for the fans of Warkings, this album will deliver across all expectations. Great album. There are some minor issues, like I said, as far as the balancing of the sound between both halves of the record, but in my opinion, it's just not enough to really take anything away from the overall feel of the record, from the overall quality that this album has to offer, once again, to the fans of the band and definitely for the fans of power metal. Now, as far as songs are concerned, I want to start off with Freedom. This is the opening track. I really like this song, and one of the reasons I like it is because it felt to me that it could have easily been a track on the previous record, Reborn, that perhaps didn't make that record, and they throw it into this album. It had a lot of the same mechanisms, a lot of the same soundscapes, a lot of the same attributes that you got on a lot of songs on their debut record. So starting off with a song that has that same feel, to me, is always a winning formula. It allows the fans to engage the record, feel comfortable. There's nothing really different. You really feel like you're just continuing where you left off with the previous album. Then you can change things down the line and you can go into different directions. But the first song to me is always important to kind of have a sense of continuity from where the previous album left off. With Freedom, they definitely achieved that on this record. I'm actually surprised that this song hasn't been picked for a single, because it's one of the most dynamic, most powerful, perhaps most power metal songs on the album. I love it. I love how it sounds. I love how it's put together. It has a powerful verses, more melodic in the chorus. I love how the drums come in the chorus to add a little bit of heaviness, really giving a heartbeat to the track, if you will. Very dynamic all around. The narrator comes in with some darker vocals, giving a little bit of a somber touch to the way the song sounds, leading that into the solo. The solo is magnificent, and that is something that you're going to get on every song on this album. Every song has just an incredible solo that really captures the idea of the track and just blows it all up and just expands on it and creates really interesting sound and really interesting dynamics within the songs themselves. This one being no different. I like how it finishes it with Freedom being sung over and over again. I like that style. I like the vocals that are singing Freedom. They're a little bit harder and heavier. Definitely have a different style, a different approach to it, but it closes off the song perfectly. Really well constructed, really nice track. Like I said, almost feeling like something that could have been on Reborn, but didn't make that record, and now it gets introduced to the fans on this album. Next is Warriors, another fast, ripping track. This one, in my opinion, is a little bit more melodic, has a little bit more of a texture to the sound. It's not as driven, it's not as fluid, if you will. Definitely there's more melody there, there's a different texture, there's a different dynamic in how this song is created. The layers surrounding the vocals is definitely an important element, both in the verses as in the chorus. It adds volume, it adds presence, and does not allow the song to become heavier vocally. The song is still very melodic, but it just feels like there's a lot more there instead of being very stripped, very thin as far as the vocal track is concerned. So I like that. It makes the song feel bigger overall. Another track, another magnificent solo. Like I said, this is going to be a constant. I really challenge you or anybody watching this video to go on this, listen to this record, and tell me if there's a song where the solo does not fit or the solo is just not magnificent. This is another solo that, in my opinion, just really creates an interesting dynamic within the song. It has a little bit of an old school feel to it, more of a classic heavy metal style solo on this track. This track also has a little bit more of that classic heavy metal style to it. So I really like the combination of how the song is constructed, how the track is put together, and then how the solo sounds. Finishing off with a melodic riff that almost, it was not the starting of the track, but it's very close to the start of the song. It allows the track to come full circle. As it starts is as it finishes. I like that aspect. It really completes the track, if you will, and it gives a sense of comfort, it gives a sense of closure when you're listening to this song. Last but not least, Azrael. This is one of the most interesting tracks. First of all, I love the Middle Eastern vibe that it has, which plays extremely well to the lyrics on the song. It's a little bit of a slower track, but what it loses in tempo, what it loses in speed, it gains a little bit as far as heaviness is concerned. It definitely is a song that has a little bit more power to it. And because of that, I really feel like this track has a little bit of a style of an anthem or a hymn, a song that's created to be played in a live setting, because the way it's constructed, the way the vocals work, it really calls for the audience to sing back at the band and the band to sing at the audience, to have this interaction between the two. So I really feel like this is a song that in a live setting will work extremely well because of how it's constructed and how it's put together. There's only one little thing that I would like to see added or changed on this track, and that is there's a stretch there where there's some female humming that then leads into the narrator, and then from the narrator goes into the solo. Overall is a really cool bridge, really interesting approach to have these three different pieces, if you will, merged together to create this sequence towards the end of the song. Instead of the male harsh vocal narrator, out of like that female humming, either to continue a little bit longer or to add some clean female vocals into that portion instead of the narrator, it just felt to me that it needed something different. We had heard the narrator or that style of vocals, that harsher male vocal narrator style, before on other tracks, so there was no surprise there. So having something different, like a female clean vocalist for that portion, perhaps would be something that would change things, would change that definitely would change the dynamic of the song. But I think it would reset the way you would approach this track. It would definitely reset the ears of the listener, and it would give the listener something that you haven't heard up until this point on the record, and you wouldn't hear it after this song either. So it would be a nice change. It would definitely go well with the whole Middle Eastern vibe, because when you're listening to this song, you really travel to that place, you become part of the scenery, the song comes to life. So having something Middle Eastern as far as female vocal style is approached, maybe singing, maybe humming, maybe changing a little bit of how that bridge is put together. Not quite sure how you could do it, but I really felt that there was something missing there in order to really push this song to the next level. Having said that, it's still one of my favorite songs on the album because I like the dynamics that it has. I like the sound that it has, very different. There's no other song on the record that has that same vibe, that same Middle Eastern approach to the sound. So from that perspective, and from that perspective alone, it's definitely a standout track. But then how it's constructed with that anthem slash hymn vibe to it definitely jumps out and becomes easily one of my favorite tracks on the record. Alright guys, this is it. This is Warkings with Revenge, once again out July 31st on Napalm Records. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Use the comment section below. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care guys.